Opa. Deixa eu ver se já tá em live. Já. Beleza. Bom, hoje eu vou. Não vou codar nada. Então, primeiramente, boa noite pra quem vai vir na live. Hoje é o 11º vídeo. 11ª live estudando Java até a vaga de estágio. Então, hoje eu só vou ver alguns vídeos sobre os tópicos que eu tava estudando ontem. Na verdade, os tópicos. Eita, não acredito, velho. Ah, não acredito.
Hey, it's your bro. Hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to be discussing the toString method in Java, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. If you find this video helpful, please remember to like,
E a
comment,
nossa
and
aplicação está
subscribe.
crescendo, a
Your
gente está
support
usando
will
dois
help
dos principais pilares da orientação a objeto. O primeiro que a gente usou foi herança, agora a gente está
Bom,
usando
eu
polimorfismo.
tava. Na live de ontem eu tava fazendo o desafio 5. E eu não consegui fazer direito o passo 6, porque eu não entendi. Então. Então eu quero ver alguns vídeos sobre isso aqui. É. Na verdade, eu vou ver só alguns vídeos aqui sobre interface, essas paradas só.
like Bob or something. So let's define the first one well, and in this video I'm going to teach you guys all about constructors in Java, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. You too can become a hero and save our channel by punching the like button, throw a comment down below, and smash the subscribe button. Alright guys and gals, in this video I'm going to be explaining constructors to you all. Now a constructor is a special method that is called when an object is instantiated, and when we instantiate something, that's just a fancy term for creating an object. Now for this example, I have two classes. I have my main class that contains my main method, and I
Vê se tá
also
bom
have
agora o
another
áudio.
class within my project folder called human. We're going to be creating some human objects today. Now, normally the steps of creating an object, we would type in the name of the class. For this example, it's human. A unique name for this specific object. We'll just call this human, all lowercase, equals
Beleza, então.
new human. Now, this portion works very similar to a standard method call, except a constructor is a special method that works behind the scenes that will create an instance of a class for us. It will instantiate an object. Basically speaking, our constructor is acting as a special method, and we can even pass in arguments when we instantiate it. So if we would like to do something with these arguments, like assign them to the attributes of our object, we can set up the constructor within the class. So this is how to create the constructor within our class. It's going to have the same name as the class. For this example, it's human, followed by a set of parentheses and then a set of curly braces, attributes that a human parameters. These are the rules. In order for us to instantiate a human, wait, perhaps this will be in kilograms.
É doido, porque aqui no Procode ele não usa
So let's say maybe 70. See,
public
now
antes,
that
né?
error went away, so we
Nos
can compile
no
and run this, but
construtor.
it currently doesn't do anything. So why
Aí
is
antes
this
eu ficava
useful? Why
pensando
is passing
se
arguments
eu
to
tava
a
fazendo
constructor
errado,
useful?
ou se
Well,
eu
this gives us the
acho
ability
que tava
to
errado, ou se
create
o Procode tava
different
errado, mas
objects that have
aí eu
different
percebi que
attributes.
tanto faz,
So we could create
porque
a
já é
second
público
human that
por si
has
só.
a different name, a different age, and a different weight. But we first need to assign these values to the attributes of our class. So let's head name. We're only going to declare this int age and double weight. And then within the constructor, we're going to assign all of these values to each of these variables. So right now, let's say name equals name, and age equals age, and weight equals weight. Now, this actually isn't going to work, and I'll show you why. So let's attempt to access human1's name. And let's do this with a print line statement. System.out.println. To access one of these attributes, we type in the name of the object, dot, and whatever we're trying to access. Let's attempt to access the name. Now, if we were to display the name, it says null. Well, what gives? That's because we need to assign each of these values to this specific object, and one keyword to assign values to this object is to use the this keyword. So when we assign name equals name, age equals age, and weight equals weight, we're going to precede each of these with the keyword this. This dot name, this dot age, and this dot weight. So for all intents and purposes, when we create an instance of a class, when we create an object, we're going to imagine or pretend that we're replacing this keyword with the name of the object. So if we're creating an object called human, replace this or pretend that we're replacing this with human. If we created a second human object, this could be human2. Just pretend that, but stick with the keyword of this. So now
Nossa, agora eu entendi. Eu nem tinha parado pra pensar o porquê que coloca this. Mas aí, tipo, this é só pra referenciar, tipo assim, ó. Imagina que a gente podia colocar qualquer coisa aqui. Aí seria mais fácil colocar humano.nome, né? Humano.nome. Porque eu tô na classe pública humano. Mas aí é muito mais fácil padronizar e colocar this, pra aí referenciar o this na classe humana, eu acho que é isso.
be human2. Just pretend that, but stick with the keyword of this. So
Então agora se fosse um executar
now
this.
if we were to run this,
É,
human
isso
now
mesmo.
has a name.
Isso que eu pensei mesmo.
Now let's create a second human.
Nossa.
So let's repeat the steps. Human, I'm going to call this human2 and rename human as human1 just to keep things simple. Now we can send different arguments to our constructor. So we need to send a name, an age, and a weight. Well, a string, an integer, and a double. So for our second human, let's call him Morty. We need to send an integer. Let's say he's 16 and he weighs 50 kilograms. And let's attempt to access human2's name. So we can do this within a print line statement. Human2 dot name. And this should display Morty. So now the point of constructors is that they allow us to construct objects that have varying attributes. And in the last lesson, when we were constructing cars, we were only able to construct blue Corvettes. And with the help of constructors, we can construct objects that have different qualities. So they are still humans, they're objects that are instantiated from the human class, but they have different attributes that make them unique. Here's one situation that you might run into. Now, how can you access an object's attributes from within its class itself? So we can utilize the this keyword to help us with that. So let's pretend that humans have two methods. They have an eat method as well as a drink method. And let's define these both. So for eat, let's say void eat. And within this method, let's create a print line statement that says this person's name is eating. So in order to access an object's attributes from within its own class, we have to use the this keyword. So if we want to display the person's name plus maybe some text such as is eating, let's type in this dot name to access this object's name plus is eating. So this will print the person's name plus is eating. And let's try this. So let's say human2, which is Morty, is eating. So in order to call this method, we'll have human2 use its dot name.
Nossa, mas aqui, ó. Calma. Tipo aqui, ó. Aí que eu não coloquei this. E se eu colocasse? Nossa, nem vai fazer diferença. Legal.
name to access this object's name, plus is eating. So this will print the person's name, plus is eating. And let's try this. So let's say human2, which is Morty, is eating. So in order to call this method, we'll have human2 use its eat method. So this will display Morty is eating. Now let's create a drink method. Void drink. And we will display this person's name is drinking. System.out.println. This dot name plus is drinking. Burp. And let's say human1, which is Rick, is going to use the drink function because he likes drinking. So human1 dot drink. And here are the results. Morty is eating and Rick is drinking. That's because we stated that human2 is going to use its eat method and human1 is going to use its drink method. So if we had each of these objects perform the other method, a different method, let's say human1 is going to use the eat method and human2 is going to use its drink method. So now each of these objects is using a different method. This time, Rick is eating and Morty is drinking. So that's why constructors are useful. They allow us to assign different attributes to each object that we instantiate. So that's the basics of constructors. If you would like a copy of all this code, I'll post all of this in the comments down below. But yeah, that's the basics of constructors in Java. Hey you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. A sauce, a cheese, and a topping.
Nossa, array de objetos. Caramba.
Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to explain overloaded methods in Java. In Java, overloaded methods are methods that share the same name, but they have different parameters. A method's name plus its parameters will give you a unique method signature. Each method signature needs to be unique. No two methods can share the same signature, but they can share the same name. In Java, overloaded methods are methods that share the same name, but they have different parameters. A method's name plus its parameters will give you a unique method signature. Each method signature needs to be unique. No two methods can share the same signature, but they can share the same name. Let me give you a demonstration. Let's say we have a method. It's going to return a double. The method name will be add. We'll add two numbers together. Add is the method name, and then we'll set up some parameters. We'll have double A for the first number and double B. All we're going to do is return A plus B. It's a simple method. So I'm going to print add the numbers. We'll add to return a double. The method name will be add. We'll add two numbers together. Add is the method name, and then we'll set up some parameters. We'll have double A for the first number and double B. All we're going to do is return A plus B. It's a simple method. So I'm going to print add the numbers 1 plus 2, and then print it. This will give us 3. What if I would like to add a third number? You can see that Java is already giving us a warning. Expected 2 arguments, but 3 found. So if I were to run this program, we get an error. Actual and formal argument lists differ in length. One solution is that I could create another method, also named add, but it has different parameters, where we accept 3 numbers. So let me just copy this method, paste it, then I'll add another parameter for double C. Return A plus B plus C, and that should work. Now the number is 6. These 2 methods share the same name, but they have different parameters. So that's actually legal in Java. A method's name plus its parameters will give you a unique method signature. No 2 methods can share the same signature. With our second method, let's delete the last parameter of double C and attempt to run this, and we'll see what happens exactly. Well, we get an error message. Method add is already defined in class main. Java is saying that we have 2 methods that share the same name and the same exact parameters. Methods can share the same name, but they need different parameters if that's the case. Now, if I would like to add another number, like 4, I could create another overloaded method, also named add, but this one will have 4 parameters. Double D. Return A plus B plus C plus D. And this works too. Let's go over another example. Let's pretend that we're baking a pizza. We'll have a string variable of pizza. We'll create a method to bake a pizza, but we have to pass in ingredients. We'll declare a method with static. We'll return a string. That's the return type. The method name will be bake pizza. Our parameters are going to be a set of ingredients. For this method, we'll just accept a string of bread. We'll just return our bread variable plus the word pizza. So this could be, for example, a thick crust pizza or a flatbread pizza, so to say. Let's set our pizza variable equal to, call the bake pizza method. Now this method only has bread setup as a parameter and ingredient.
Eu entendi.
So this could be, for example, a thick crust pizza or a flatbread pizza, so to say. Let's set our pizza variable equal to, call the bake pizza method. Now this method only has bread setup as a parameter and ingredient. Let's say flat bread for the bread. And then we'll print our pizza. System.out.println, our string variable of pizza. Here's what we have. We have a string of flatbread pizza. So when baking a pizza, there's a lot.
Tá. Static string porque tá retornando uma string. O nome do método é bake pizza. Aí tem o parâmetro massa. Ele vai retornar a massa mais pizza. Tá, então string pizza. String pizza é igual. Tá, ele fez esse método, esse atributo pizza pra colocar o salt. E Colocou o método Bake Pizza para mostrar flatbread pizza.
A lot of different ingredients. Let's create another. Here's what we have. We have a string of
Tá, consegui
flatbread
entender.
pizza.
Isso
So
mesmo.
when baking a pizza,
Meu
there's a
Deus, é
lot of
muito
different
difícil, velho.
ingredients.
Cansado.
Let's create another method of baked pizza, but we have a parameter of bread and a parameter of cheese. Let's copy this method, paste it, but we have to change the parameters. We're already receiving a warning. We'll have string bread and string cheese. No pun intended. Let me zoom in. Now those warnings have went away. We have two methods with the same name, but they have different parameters, which is fine. We can do that. So this time, let's return a string of cheese plus a space character plus our bread plus the word pizza. Let's pass in a type of cheese. Mozzarella. I probably misspelled that. Actually, I spelled it correctly. Okay, now we'll bake our pizza.
Ah, tá. Eu consigo entender. Esses parâmetros que ele tá passando aqui é esses. Agora faz sentido. Aí ele só tá usando um string pizza pra colocar aqui no salt. Faz todo sentido.
We have a mozzarella flatbread pizza. If there's two or more methods with the same name, we'll end up using the method where the parameters match. We'll create one more overloaded method. We'll create another baked pizza method, but this one will have a custom topping. String topping. We'll return topping plus a space character plus everything we had previously. Then we can pass in a new ingredient. How do you spell pepperoni? I can never spell it. Pepperoni. Now this time we have a pepperoni, mozzarella, flatbread pizza. Alright everybody. How do you spell pepperoni? I can never spell it. Plus everything we had previously. Then we can pass in a new ingredient. How do you spell pepperoni? I can never spell it. Pepperoni. Now this time we have a pepperoni, mozzarella, flatbread pizza. Alright everybody, so those are overloaded methods. Methods can share the same name, but they need to have a different list of parameters. A method's name plus its parameters will give you a unique method signature, and no two methods can share the same signature. And well everybody, those are overloaded methods in Java. Hey, how's it going everybody? In this video I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to start coding with Java. This series even contains about 15 hands-on projects that we're going to code together. Our final project will be a functioning alarm clock that plays music of your choice. If you've never coded anything in your life, don't worry, we're going to start from the very beginning. I encourage you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I don't like boring introductions, so we're just going to jump right in. To start coding with Java, you'll need two things: a Java development kit, also known as a JDK. A JDK contains a compiler. A compiler will compile your source code, your written code, into bytecode, which can run on a machine. You'll also need an integrated development. Hey, how's it going everybody? In this video I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to start coding with Java. This series even contains about 15 hands-on projects that we're going to code together. Our final project will be a functioning alarm clock that plays music of your choice. If you've never coded anything in your life, don't worry, we're going to start from the very beginning. I encourage you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I don't like boring introductions, so we're just going to jump right in. To start coding with Java, you'll need two things: a Java development kit, also known as a JDK. A JDK contains a compiler. A compiler will compile your source code, your written code, into bytecode, which can run on a machine. You'll also need an integrated development environment, IDE. An IDE is a fancy term for a workspace in which we can write code, because sometimes Notepad just doesn't cut it. We'll get started by downloading a JDK, a Java Development Kit. Okay, here's how to download the JDK, the Java Development Kit. You can easily just Google or do a search for JDK download. We're going to use the one by Oracle, so we'll click on this link. I'll also post the link in the description of this video, if you would like to access it that way. We will download the latest JDK version. As of the filming of this video, we're on JDK 23. We're going to look for our operating system. I'm running Windows. I will download the 64-bit installer by clicking this link. Then we just have to wait for it to download. The download is complete. We're going to open this executable, select Next, Next. Our JDK has been successfully installed. We can close it. And that's all we got to do for the JDK. Now we need to install an IDE, an Integrated Development Environment. One I recommend is IntelliJ. You can easily just Google or do a search for IntelliJ download. We'll select the top link. Now, if you're not brought to this page, let's say you're at a different page, project, I'll name my project My First Project folder. It has a top toolbar, go to File, New, Java class. We'll name this class Main. Be really small. Here's how to change that. Go to the top toolbar, go to Settings, go to Editor, General, and you can check this checkbox for change font size with Control plus mouse wheel.
Caramba. Nossa, agora fica bem melhor pra olhar, olha. Fica bom aí na live também? Nossa, fica ótimo.
Apply. Okay. Now you should be able to zoom in if you hold Control and scroll your mouse wheel. Now we can actually read something. In Java, in order to get some code to run, you need a main method. Within our class of main, there's a set of curly braces. We'll type the following: public static void main. Add a set of parentheses, then a set of curly braces. Within the set of parentheses, you're going to type the following: string, straight brackets, args. Like you're a pirate. You need this method in order for your program to run. Over the course of this series, we'll learn what each of these keywords means. But as a beginner, think of it as a magic spell that you have to say in order to get your program to run. To run your program, you're going to click this green arrow, or you can hold Shift plus F10. If we have written the main method successfully, we should have no errors. It says processed finished with execode 0. That means everything is running fine. If I were to delete this main method, we can't actually run the program. So be sure that that method is in. To output some text to the console window, we're going to type system with a capital S .out .print. Add a set of parentheses, then a semicolon. In Java, you'll end most of your statements with a semicolon. It's kind of like a period at the end of a sentence in the English language. Within the set of parentheses, we'll add a set of double quotes. Whatever we would like to output, we're going to type within the set of double quotes. Think of a food you like. I'll type, I like pizza. And then we can run this, and this should be the output. Again, I'm going to go to the green arrow, or you can hold Shift F10, and a console window should pop up that says, I like pizza, or whatever your favorite food is, whatever you typed here. Let's add another line of code. Again, type system.out.print. end it with a semicolon. Within quotes, what should we type? I like pizza. It's really good. Let's run it again. All right, here's our output. I like pizza. It's really good. Now, these are both on the same line. To move your output down to the next line, you can use println, meaning print line. Now it should look something like this. I like pizza. It's really good. If you type \n, that's an escape sequence for a new line. And that works too, besides print line. I like pizza. It's really good. Let's add another line of text. System.out.print, or print line. I like pizza. It's really good. Buy me pizza. And I'll add a new line character. I like pizza. It's really good. Buy me pizza. Or again, you could use print line. So println for print line. And this will do the same thing. Now you can write a comment. Comments aren't displayed as output. To write a comment, you use 2 /, and the text should be grayed out. Comments are good as notes for yourself or for other developers. Let's add a comment that this is my first Java program. When we run this, this won't display as output. It's really just used as notes. We still have our output. It hasn't changed. You can even add a multi-line comment with a /, then an asterisk. To end a multi-line comment, you need an asterisk, then a /. I'll write, this is a multi-line comment. This won't output either. We don't see either of these comments. This is specific for IntelliJ, but you can change the console font and the colors. I kind of find this hard to read. To do that, we're going to go to the top menu. Under File, go to Settings. Under Color Scheme, go to Console Font. Here you can change the font if you would like. Or the colors. I'll change the colors. I'll make the output bright green so it's easier to read. I'll go to Console, Standard Output, and select a new color. I'll select something green. Apply, and I think that looks pretty good. It's more readable that way. I'll also change the system output too. I'll make it kind of grayed out. That's pretty good. Yeah, and there's our output. I like pizza. It's really good. Buy me pizza. Now, a shortcut to type system.out.println, if you're using IntelliJ, is to type SOUT, then hit Tab. That's going to auto-generate a printline statement for you. I didn't realize this trick until a little bit later. So you don't always need to type out this statement. You can just auto-generate it. Alright everybody, and that is your first Java program. Your homework in the comments section is to post 3 printline statements. Maybe type a poem or some song lyrics or something. And well everybody, that is your first Java program. Alright everybody, so we are moving on to variables in Java. Probably... Hey,
Achei
how's it
legal
going,
isso da.
everybody? In this video, I like pizza. It's really good. To do that, we're going to go to the top menu. Under File, go to Settings. Under Color Scheme, go to Console Font. Here, you can change the font if you would like. Or the colors. I'll change the colors. I'll make the output bright green so it's easier to read. I'll go to Console, Standard Output, and select a new color. I'll select something green.
Nossa, melhor pra ler mesmo.
Apply. And I think that looks pretty good. It's more readable that way. I'll also change the system output too. I'll make it kinda grayed out.
Meu Deus. Eu vou deixar o GitHub aqui.
That's pretty good.
É... Tem uma coisa que eu queria mudar também. Assim não dói meus olhos.
Yeah, and there's our output. I like pizza, it's really good, buy me pizza. Now, a shortcut to type system.out.println, if you're using IntelliJ, is to type SOUT, then hit tab. That's going to auto-generate a printline statement for you. I didn't realize this trick until a little bit later, so you don't always need to type out this statement. You can just auto-generate it. Alright everybody, and that is your first Java program. Your homework in the comments section is to post 3 printline statements. Maybe type a poem or... Alright everybody, so we are moving on to variables in Java. Probably back in elementary school or middle school, you learned about variables. In algebra, a variable was a representation of a number. Well, in programming, we have variables too. A variable is a reusable container for a value. A variable behaves as if it was the value it contains. But variables can contain more than just numbers. They can contain characters and even entire words. There's different data types. A whole number would be an integer. A number that includes a decimal would be a double. There's 2 categories of variables we'll discuss: primitive and reference. Primitive variables are simple values, like numbers. They're stored directly in memory, usually in a location
Isso aí
known as
eu
the
lembro.
stack. Reference variables actually hold memory addresses on the stack. They point to a location in a different area known as the heap. Think of it this way. If I give you a primitive variable, that would be the same as me handing you $10. But if I give you a reference variable, a memory address, that would be the same as me giving you an IOU that says I owe you $10, but the actual money I owe you is at the bank. That might be a beginner's way of thinking of the difference between a primitive and reference data type. Primitive, I'm giving you $10. A reference data type, I'm giving you an IOU that I owe you $10. We'll discuss the different data types. We'll begin with integers. An int, short for integer, is a primitive data type. I'll show you how we can create an integer variable. In Java, there's 2 steps to creating a variable. The first is declaration. The second is assignment. Let's say we would like to create a variable that stores a whole number, an integer. With the first step of declaration, we're going to first type the data type of what we would like to store exactly. So for integers, we will type int. Then we should think of a unique variable name. We don't want to say x or something similar. That would make sense in basic algebra. But in programming, you want your variables to be descriptive. Like, shut up. In programming, you want your variables to be descriptive. So let's say we are working with, let's say, int age. End this line with a semicolon. So this is declaration, step 1. We are creating a variable named age. If I was to print my variable of age, system.out.println, let's print age and see what it is.
Vai dar errado porque
Variable
não
age might not
tem
have been initialized.
valor.
We're using a variable, but we've never given it a value. We've never completed step 2 of assignment. So we can set age equal to a value. So on my YouTube channel, the average age of my viewers is approximately 21 or so. So let's set age to be 21, and then we'll print it. So that outputs 21. If I were to change this to 30, then my variable age would behave as if it was the number 30. So those are integers, they're whole numbers. Let's say that I'm 30.5. Let's see what happens exactly. You can see that IntelliJ is already giving us a warning that we're working with a
Porque
different data type.
se for fazer isso aí tem que ser double,
So
né?
if I were to run this, we get an error message. We have incompatible types from double to int. If we declare a variable as an integer, they can only store whole integers. Let's think of a few more examples. Another example of an integer could be a year. So let's say the year is 2025. Then we'll print our year. 2025. Or maybe a quantity. Int quantity equals 1. Then we'll print our quantity. 1. So when working with quantities, they're whole numbers usually, right? We wouldn't have, let's say, half a product, 1.5. I would like 1.5 Nintendo Switches. That wouldn't make sense, right? They would be whole numbers, like 1 or 2.
Entendi a referência.
Sense, right? 0.5. I would like 1.5 Nintendo Switches. That wouldn't make sense, right?
Ah, tá,
They would be
entendi.
whole numbers, like 1 or 2. Now you can output a variable with a string of text as well. Let's say the year is, then I'll add plus a variable, year. Make sure that the variable is not within quotes. So currently this says, the year is 2025. You do have to pay attention to the spacing. So after the word is, I'm going to add a space to separate is and the variable year. The year is 2025. Now, if our variable was within quotes, we would literally be printing the word year. The year is year. So don't do that, unless it's intentional. Let's go on to the next data type. The next data type is double. Double is a number, but it can contain a decimal portion, unlike int. Ints are whole numbers. So this time, we will create a variable type of double. What are some examples of a variable that could be a double? Let's say a price. There could be dollars and cents. $19.99. Or perhaps a GPA, a grade point average. Double GPA equals 3.5. Or a temperature. Double temperature equals negative 12.5. All right, let's output some of these. Let's do price. System.out.println. Let's output the price. 19.99. Let's add a unit of currency. I'll pick American dollars. So $ plus price. $19.99. If you were to assign a variable that's a double data type, or maybe a variable as a Boolean, let's check to see if somebody is, then any word after the first letter is going to be uppercase. So takes up. Let's check to see if somebody is a student. Our variable name will be is student, and this equals true or false. So if
Ah, é verdade. Tem uma vez que eu tava usando booleano e eu esqueci de colocar isso antes. Esse is é tipo... É estudante? Não. Tipo... Aí eu vou fazer, né, o if ou else. Aí eu vou colocar lá. Se é estudante for real, é estudante. Se é estudante for falso, aí não é estudante.
I am a student, I would say true. Now, a common naming convention in Java is called camel case naming convention. If your variable name takes up two words, such as is and student, when you combine them, the first letter of the first word should be lowercase, then any word after, the first letter is going to be uppercase. So, is student. And I will set that to be true. Maybe something is for sale or not. Boolean for sale equals false. It's not for sale. Is somebody online? Boolean is online. And I will set that to be true. These are a few examples of Boolean variables. Now you could output them directly using system.out.println. Let's test it. System.out.println. Let's output is student. Are we a student? That is true.
System.out.println.
Is something for sale? For sale. That is false. Now with Boolean variables, we don't typically output them directly to the console. we tend to use them more internally within a program. One place in which you might see them is with the use of if statements. And this is a future topic, we'll revisit it later, but I want to demonstrate the usefulness of Booleans. So this is an if statement. We can check some condition, parentheses, then curly braces. If our condition is true, if is student double equals true, but we could simplify this to if is student. If this variable contains true, which it does, we can execute some code. System.out.println, we will print the following. You are a student. If this Boolean variable contains true, we will print the following. You are a student. Or we could add else, an else clause. Else, let's print you are not a student. So currently, we're still a student, but if this Boolean variable contained a value of false, we would perform the else statement. You are not a student. So we'll cover if statements in a future topic. You don't necessarily need to know how these work right now, but that's for now. So then we have the reference known as string concatenation. So let's say
string eu já sei bem.
What about it's a string? Hello, your first and last name.
Pra call.
Let's print our... Okay, let's use our .print line. Too cheap. That's plus the text of for sale. Else we will print something else. I'll just copy this. Let's say the plus car plus is not for sale. For sale,
Está à venda.
That's set to false. The Mustang is not for sale. But if this were true, there is a Mustang for sale. For sale is set to
Mano, isso é
true.
muito da hora, velho.
Alright, everybody, so those are variables in Java. A variable is a reusable container for a value. A variable behaves as if it was the value that it contains. There's two different categories of variables, primitive and reference. Primitive data types are simple values, like integers, floats, single characters, and booleans. They're stored directly in memory, usually in a location known as the stack. Reference the stack. Reference variables values, like integers, floats, single characters, and booleans. They're stored directly in memory, usually in a location known as the stack. Reference variables, such as strings, which are a series of characters,
isso o Fiasco não falou.
Or an email, they're more complicated.
O nome...
We store a memory address that points to a location in the heap. And your homework assignment is in the comment section. Post 5 variables: a string, an integer, a double, a char, and a boolean. And if you don't do your homework, you're going to make me sad. And well, everybody, that is an introduction to variables in Java. Hello again, friends. So today I'm going to show you how we can accept scanner. Scanner is a class. So make sure you have this import.
Ah, lembrei o que eu queria fazer no TDJ. Aí aqui, ó, usar, use liberar, option, close comparison. Sei lá.
At the top before we get started. To sum up programming, we typically accept input, process it, then produce output. So that's why accepting user input is important.
Vamos ver só, eu vou... 57 minutos já. Vou terminar a live já. Vou descansar. Amanhã eu estudo mais. Até depois. Na verdade só tem minha namorada na live. Então, tchau, amor. Boa noite. Então, amanhã eu vou ver algumas aulas ainda do Brocode. Só pra revisar. E tem uma explicação de alguém que não seja fiasco. Eu consigo entender aqui, mas acho que quanto mais eu olhar de outras explicações e mais exemplos, eu vou entender melhor. Então é isso. Até amanhã. Tchau.